Before oh, not sure. They got he on twice. How about this? How about that? Trying to get this echo. How about that? No. How do I get rid of this up?
Yeah.
I don't see how to close it up.
Mhm.
No. Fish. You got me on your cross.
You can't click back on
I'm not good at New York. So I hope someone about to watch it can help me out.
I was saying, and my one, I still do. It's funny.
BB48. I think I got it.
You think you got it?
I think I got it. Thank you for helping me
Oh.
out. Help me navigate. I'm an Ife on the sidelines. She helped me navigate this issue. But we're here at the School of Urban Philosophy where we always straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. Black family, how are you doing out there today? We're going to dive right on in and get into some serious discussion. And as always, the dialogical methodology works well with me. Anything that you want to talk about, any questions that you have, you can present those questions. As always, like the live, share the video, and give it a thumb up. Give it a thumb up. So what is that I want to talk about with you guys today? It's a lot that's going on. We're in the Black August, and oftentimes Black August come around and we get in that real celebratory spirit, which is great for us as Black people to always be in a celebratory spirit. But let's make sure we're doing things very correct. Whatever we do, let's strive to be the best at doing that. And by best, I mean excellent. Let's strive to do an excellent job at being, who we are. Let's not take anything for granted. We in this land, and our ancestors have worked very hard, for us to do things that needs to be done. It's a lot of things that's taking place today throughout the world as it pertains to Black people, African people. A lot of things, and we have to be aware of those things and we have to be concerned. For those of you who tuned in at the last live, I was speaking about consciousness, national consciousness, and I was saying that we can use the call for race first as a methodology and a means and a strategy to deepen and broaden, consciousness, national consciousness, which is Black consciousness by definition. Because I said that, from the national consciousness, we can get to a national identity as a people. And from the national identity, we can begin to facilitate amongst various groups and individuals, we can begin to facilitate national solidarity. And from national solidarity, we can get to national feeling, where we actually feel for one another. We are concerned for one another. We are thinking about one another. The discomfort of any of us is a concern for all of us. National feeling. And then once we have established national feeling, it's very easy for us to initiate coordinated methods of national response, surgical strikes against the enemy. But we can't do that if we have not went through those prior 4 phases of national development. The national body politic, which is Black people, has this national psychology. And that national psychology is what I just spoke of. National consciousness, national identity, national solidarity, national feeling, and national response. That makes up the national psychology of the national body politic of us as a people. And that's very important. And that's what we're striving towards, because once we can establish that, then we can begin to move effectively towards African sovereignty. Now, excuse me, I am not advocating, nor am I a proponent of those who believe that we need 100% on board. We don't need 100% on board to be effective. We don't need 100%. And to advocate for 100%, 40, 50, 60 million Black people, unified, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what this is about. But we are striving to build, to be effective, to be impactful on the lives of Black people. So I wanted to start off with that recap to get us in a place, in the mind, to think about what it is that we can do. Because oftentimes we ask the question, well, what can I do, or what should I do? And I often tell people it's very simple. The work is very simple. Tighten yourself up. Tighten up yourself. Do not lie to yourself. Do not live in a state of self-delusion about where you are at in your own personal growth and development. Deal with your issues. And once you begin to deal with your issues and get yourself at a better place, then build with other people. Because we have to be in an organization. We have to be an organization. We cannot skip that. We can't say that we don't need to be organized. That's a false analysis. That is an extremely false analysis to believe that we do not have to be organized. We have to be organized, even if it means organizing in tens, organizing together to create something larger. We have to be organized. But the organizations of any magnitude will not sustain itself if the individuals who make up the organization are not together within themselves. If they have not done the work on themselves, the organizations will not sustain itself. It's going to fall apart. It's going to come apart. So we have to tighten ourselves up. Get your psychological together. Get your spirit together. Build your mental. You have to get together. You together. You know, in the quote unquote corporate world, they talk about professional development, which is nothing more than ongoing personal development. It's you taking the initiative to equip yourself so that you can execute your job function better. That's what this is about. So even those of us who want to be a part of the movement, who want to be in the struggle, who want to be doing Black nationalistic work, Black liberation work, you have to get yourself together. You have to get yourself together. Get your emotions together. And your emotions are going to become better when you focus in developing your psychology. When you spend some time in developing your personal psychology, the psychological makeup of you as a person, when you tend to that and you begin to heal that, your emotions will get better. Many of us have been hurt, harmed, abused, abandoned, loyalty broken, right? Those things linger within us. Many of us have witnessed many people that we love transition over the years, and we haven't properly grieved or mourned, that particular transition. We carry those things with us. Yes, you can carry emotions with you for a very long time. You can carry grief for a very long time. You can carry grief for 20, 30, 40, 50 years if you don't deal with that. You can carry the scars of being abused the remainder of your life if you don't deal with it. And oftentimes we think we've dealt with something because we've moved on from it. We try to, neglect it. We apply the policy of benign neglect to our hurt and pain. I am going to neglect the hurt and pain so I can forget that it's there and move on, but I haven't dealt with it. I haven't addressed it. I haven't healed from it. So all that is required is for me to enter into a situation that requires a certain part of me so I can be functional in this situation. But that part of me is not available because that's the part that's been hurt. That's the part that have been bruised. So that part isn't available. So therefore I can't function well in this position. I'll give you an example. Many of us can't maintain relationships because our relationships require trust. And a lot of us can't trust because we haven't dealt with the trust issues that we have from the past. So now you're in a relationship that requires trust. That part of you can't show up. And it can't show up because it's bruised and it's hurt from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. You haven't dealt with it. And that's what's destroying a lot of the Black organizations. A lot of the Black organizations is being destroyed because we are not well. We are not psychologically and spiritually well to the degree that we are healthy enough to be in a relationship organization with other people that requires of you to deliver parts of yourself. To be in an organization requires of you to do what? To exercise vulnerability, transparency. And oftentimes we can't show up and do that because of the hurt and the pain. So we fall short. We fall short in that regard. And therein lies the problem to destroying relationships between man and woman, the relationships that's necessary to sustain and build healthy and strong families, the relationship that's necessary to build and sustain good organizations cannot happen when you got people who are broken in so many ways, and they're just, and they are unwilling to go and get help. Unwilling to go and get help. Black meaning African. Hotep, my brother, how you doing? It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have you. Right now, I was just dealing with some of the dynamics that interferes with our ability to build the type of organizations that are necessary and the relationships that are necessary for us to do some very impactful work, long-lasting work. And we have to address these things. Oftentimes, we don't deal with these issues. We don't have these conversations. We don't talk about the psychological instabilities and emotional immaturity, you know what I'm saying, that's running rampant within our community. You know, oftentimes we want to just steer away from, we want to steer away from that. You know, when we have that conversation, and there's no growth when we can't have the courageous conversations. There's no growth. Nothing happens. So we've been conditioned to take part in fakery, to take part in superficial relationships where everybody is just walking on eggshells to make sure that they don't, quote unquote, hold on for a second. Let me plug this up. Yeah, I am back. You know, people want to be in those situations where they don't have to deal with, you know, the courageous conversations, the conversation that requires us to do self-analysis. It requires us to own our own mess and our own junk, to address someone else about something that he or she may be doing that doesn't sets well with you. We don't know how to have the conversation, so we just keep it moving without having a conversation. So nothing in depth is really built with us, and that's why everything falls apart so fast, because we haven't done the work to really build anything sustainable, because we don't understand the dynamics and the rules to build a relationship. You know, we don't know that to build a relationship requires of you to be invested in the building process. And that investment is the portions of yourself that you deposit into the relationship. That's the investment. Portions of you must be deposited within that relationship. Your vulnerability, your transparency, your honesty, those things must be deposited into that relationship, so that relationship can be powerful, it can be profound, it can be deep, and it can be tight. So when we come up against situations, we don't crumble. Granted, we may run up against something like impasse, but we're not going to crumble, because the relationship, because it's strong, it has built into it the immunities necessary to withstand and overcome the impasse. Whatever that impasse is, we work hard enough on the relationship that we've built within it the immunities that was going to allow us to withstand and overcome the impasse. Hotel Baba Sakati. Yes, last night I had technical difficulties. You know, we're here in Baltimore City, and you know we got this storm and all this wind, so it actually knocked out the electricity in this part of town where I'm at. So that's why I wasn't able to come on last night. So I rescheduled for tonight once, you know, the electricity was restored, so I can come on and deliver this particular message, because I want to really talk to us about things that are meaningful to help us open up and expand in ways that we can begin to do some serious work as a community. Because truth be told, we are being picked off. We're being picked off. We're being incarcerated. We're being drugged. All you got to do is go through certain neighborhoods and just go through there, and you can see us, man. We walk around like zombies, man. I don't know if you can remember, man, when the Public Enemy had the song, I think it was called Night of the Living Bassheads, something like that. You know, but they was on to something with that, man. It was on to something, because you go through some of these communities, man, and it hurts my heart. Like, we walking around like total zombies. We on drugs, and we on drugs primarily because we are trying to avoid some form of abuse that have happened to us. Call it trauma. I like to call it ma'afa or ma'afic. And we want to escape that. It may have happened to us when we was 13, when we was 9. You know, we never got the proper treatment. We never got the proper way to address it and heal from it and grow from it. It lingered with us for years. And then once we was introduced to drugs as a way to numb ourselves, that's what we did. Whether the drugs is cocaine, heroin, alcohol, now it's these pharmaceutical drugs everyone is taking, they're popping these pills, and you watch and you see us like it's like we zombies. And the people are young. They are young. They are teenagers. They are teenagers walking around on drugs and don't have a clue as to what's going on. They're totally spaced out. Right? That's happening to us. And these teenagers are parents. They have children, but they are totally incapable of executing their parental duties and responsibilities. So they have totally abandoned that. So now we have these children that's stuck with or left with a grandparent. Or in some instances, the mother and the father's on drugs and the child end up in some type of foster home or part of the system. So we are being plucked off because there's a lot of internal stuff that we are not dealing with. I like, Dr. Wade Nobles is one of, for those of you who are aware of Dr. Wade Nobles, and those of you who may not be aware of Dr. Wade Nobles, he is one of, if not, in my assessment, one of the greatest Black African psychologists that's standing on this earth right now. And I know I don't know all of them, but I read a lot about the Black psychologists, and we got some bad Black psychologists out there. But I think what Baba Wade is doing, the way he's pushing it, like one of his positions, and I subscribe to this position as well. Hold on for a second. And I subscribe to this position as well. And one of the things that he says is that, he speaks in terms of mental health. His thing is this. He feels on a lot of levels, and this is me interpreting him, right? So don't attribute nothing that I say to him. But his understanding of mental health is that mental health is like a grand delusion in a sense, and that as it pertains to Black people, and his thing is that we have what is known as a spirit illness, not spiritual. He clarifies that because like him, he says that when we hear spiritual, we oftentimes think of religion. He don't want you to think that we're talking about religion. He says a spirit illness. The spirit of us has been tainted. And because the spirit has been tainted, we're off. We're no longer thinking, speaking, and acting in accord with our nature, which is spirit. Our nature is spirit. And by spirit, we mean divine and righteous. But ours have been tainted in this land. It have been, marred. It have been scarred and scathed in such a way that we no longer think, speak, and act in the best interest of what it means to be Black or African. Right? And this is what Dr. Wade Nobles is pushing. Right? And we have to address that. Now, some may say, well, dang, Bible, man, how we gonna take time out, man, and focus on trying to heal and we fighting these people? Check this out. We are living under unprecedented conditions. Our situation is unprecedented. It's an unprecedented situation. So yes, we gotta fight this beast and at the same time figure out a way to get ourselves healthy and well. It's an unprecedented situation, but we have to deal with it. So yes, we got to do it simultaneous. We got to fight this beast and at the same time get ourselves together. Fight this beast and get ourselves together. Simultaneous, we got to work that way. We can't say one is more important than the other because we know what happens. We look at us. We got tons of organizations that have fallen apart. And when you go back and read the stories of the men and women who was involved there, and you read their stories about how and what caused them to fall apart, you'll see it's attributed in a lot of senses to the psychological junk that's going on inside of us in a lot of instances. So yes, we gotta focus on getting better, and yes, we gotta fight the beast. We gotta do both at the same time. So to a great extent, the work that needs to be done has to be a work that's operating in tandem, right? So the organizational structures that we build, it has to be comprehensive. We have to build organizational structures that's comprehensive. By comprehensive, I mean our organizational structures must address the physical, mental, social, psychological, and spiritual parts of who we are as a people. Our spirit must be addressed. Our psychology must be addressed. Our mental, our cognitive abilities, our intellect, our reasoning, our logic is oftentimes it's off. You know, when we go to assess our situation, listen to some of the things that we say. If you really listen to us really clearly, you can hear us speaking in ways that indicates that our reasoning is off. And it's off because our mental self have been constrained and compressed within this society. Hotep Baba Zaquani, good to see you, my brother. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. You know, but we're off, you know, and we have to. So let me throw some solutions out there. I know I've said a lot, so let me throw a few solutions out there to what I was just speaking to. One of the things that I did as I began my process is that I engaged myself in a style, in a method of study of African history and African culture to learn as much as I could about who we were before we encountered these Europeans. How did we think? How did we see reality? How do we see one another? Right? So once I began to develop that level of awareness from that perspective, I would take time out to use my newly found knowledge to assess and evaluate the old me. I would go back and look at my behavior and call it what it was. I didn't make no excuses for nothing that I'd done. I owned and accepted all the ugliness that I had put into this world when I was living in a dark state of mind. So as I look back at the ugliness, I utilized the knowledge that I was getting to analyze that, to put that in perspective, because you have to correct the things that you've done in this world. You just can't move from it. You have to account for what you've done. You have to account for it. Oftentimes, we think we don't have to account for it. You know, you out here, you run around, you carrying these weapons around when you young, you 16, 17, you really don't know anything about life, and you take someone's life. And then you go to prison at 19, and you stay in prison 17, 18, 19 years, you think that's sufficient. You think that's sufficient. No, you have to account for that within yourself. You have to, as you have developed and evolved and grew, you have to look at that situation. You have to ask yourself, what was I thinking? I was out my mind to kill another black man or to kill another black woman or kill another black child. You know what I'm saying? In most cases, it wasn't self-defense. Just because this person stepped on my shoe or bumped into me in the crowd and we started tussling, I go outside and get my gun and get the shooting all over the place and I hit somebody and kill somebody, right? You have to account for that. That ugliness that you put in the world, that family that you ruined, you have to account for that. And you have to use the new knowledge to make the proper assessment of the mentality that compelled you to behave in such a way. You have to do that. You got to go back and make that, correct the things inside yourself. So as you're correcting the things inside yourself, it prepares you to grow and get developed, because you can move away from those things now because you're doing what? You are rectifying those things within yourself, but you must forever live with the consequences of the action. The ramifications are always there, but you must get right. So that's one of the things that I say must be done. I use a term, and I use a term like this: we must introspect retrospectively. Introspect retrospectively. This is what we must do. Those of us who are coming into this African-centered knowledge and we feel like we're growing and learning things, we must take time out to assess ourselves. Because oftentimes the mistake that most people make is they get a bunch of information, a bunch of knowledge, and they just only looking out here at other people. They don't look at themselves. They don't look at themselves. They look at other people, right? And when you keep looking at other people, the only thing you're doing is allowing the junk that's in you to find refuge in you. That's all you do. The more you look outward, the deeper the junk that's in you takes root. It takes root. It becomes more operationalized within your character. And that's the reason why we see poor leadership, right? Because they haven't done no internal work. They lack integrity. They have no dignity. They have no honor. You know what I'm saying? They don't speak truth. They don't keep their word, right? That's because they haven't done any work. They haven't done any work. So you get this kind of leadership. The same thing with brothers that got information and knowledge that can't sustain and maintain a relationship because they're not doing any type of serious work on themselves. So they have no honor. They have no dignity. They don't have it. They don't value, consistency. They don't value their own character. So that's the reason why it's so easy for them to do what? To violate the relationship. Because I don't value who I am. So I can violate this relationship, lie, deceive, get caught for doing so, make a fake, false apology, appear to look sad, let some time go by, and reinstate the behavior all over again. That's what we see. Why? Because they're not doing the internal work on themselves. They're not correcting themselves. Brother Zaquani says, how do you go about correcting the nasty things we've done? Because I wrestle with it every day. Because most will not forgive the past. So that's the focus right there. The focus can't be on others. I'll give you an example. I'm going to use myself. If I, at the age of 17, made a decision that caused another person to lose their life, I go to prison for 15 years because of that. And let's say I start getting better. I want to do better. I can't concern myself with whether other people are going to see me as a changed person or not. That cannot be my concern. My concern must only be with the fact that I must know that I'm a changed person. Now, with the knowledge that someone from my past who have not changed may want to seek some type of revenge. That's a possibility. But I'm not going to walk around worrying about that. But at the same time, I don't walk around with my eyes closed. But I'm not concerned with whether or not other people recognize me for the person that I've become. That's not a concern. And when that's a concern, you're not doing the work for the right reason. And when you're not doing the work for the right reason, the change doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. We are never getting better because we want other people to see us better. We must become better people because we come to the realization within ourselves that we need to become a better person. So to better yourself must be predicated upon the realization that you as a person must become better. That's it. Not about what other people are going to do. Now, I got people, the last time I was in prison was 2004. I've been home for 20 years. I still have people that remembers, I went to prison in 90. I've been home for 20 years. Right? So basically, I've been home. So the last time I actually committed a crime was in the late 80s. And I still got people to this day to talk about that. So, but I don't really care because I know who I am. I know where I'm at. I know what I'm doing. I know what I've done with my life. I know the lives of the people that I've impacted and changed. So I don't really care about that. And I think when our focus becomes us, when our focus is truly about us getting better, and we're willing to do the work to get better, we can get better. But it can never be based upon what other people think of you. It can never be based upon that. Your focus can never be outward. That's the equivalent. Now follow me for a second. That is the equivalent of a person looking outside themselves for their supreme divinity. Right? You look outside yourself for the powers necessary to sustain and build you. No. The only place you must look is within yourself, because you, as a black person, as a black man or a black woman, you are the receptacle, you are the channel, you are the conduit through which you will connect with the supreme divinity that you call upon. You are the vessel, you are it. There is nothing that precedes you. By you, I mean the black mind. Nothing precedes the black mind. The black mind is the great cosmic mind. That's the universal womb wherein everything emerges from, the black mind. Nothing predates that. So you don't have to look outside of anything. It's you, it's us. We have been led astray in this society through all of their institutions. So much so that we reason wrong about things. We reason wrong about things, about life, about, who we are in life now, the relationship in life, and our connectedness to reality. The great task, part of anyway, is for us, each and every one of us, to explore our inner mind. To explore your inner mind, because there is where all the power resides. The power that we think is over there, the power that we think is the money, the dollar bill, the cars, the jewelry. No, those things does not have any intrinsic value. The value that's placed on those things are the value that's placed there by someone. There's nothing intrinsically powerful in a dollar, in a car, in material things. Nothing intrinsically valuable about that. But I'm going to tell you something that it is intrinsically powerful: the black mind. And the more we do not know anything about the black mind, the less we have power. The more we understand the black mind, and we are in touch with the black mind, and we are utilizing the black mind in its fullest capacity, then we can understand the true essence of power. It's going to come out of our mind. It always have came out of our mind. When we peruse our history, at any point in our history, when you see us excelling, being superb, you can attribute that to the black mind. That is the manifestation of the black mind. When you watch Simone Biles do what she does, right, that is the manifestation of the black mind. When we watch Jordan in the 80s and coming into the 90s, we was watching the black mind manifest itself. That's what we was looking at. When we read or listened to Marcus Garvey, you was watching the black mind. When you watch Malcolm X walk out of prison and begin to shake the whole world, we was watching the manifestation of the black mind. And everything that has been pushed against us in this society is done so to keep you, to keep us, to keep all of us from coming into the realization of the powers of the black mind. Materialism is really a problem for black people in this country. Yes, it is. Materialism is a major problem that we are contending with, a major problem. And that's the reason why I'm framing this dialogue this particular way. Because I want us to understand that there is something inherently and intrinsically powerful about us as a people. And we have to go to it. But to get there, we got to We got to go past and over and surpass the blockages that have been placed inside of our mind within this society by us being a part of the institutions in this society, whether it's a religious institution, whether it's a quote-unquote educational institution, a scientific institution, a medical institution, a social institution, whatever it is, their institutions have been erected primarily to sustain two things. The first thing is to maintain the supremacy of white thought in all of its various forms, concepts, ideologies, systems, processes, right? And secondly, to suppress, to demonize, to scathe, to restrain, to restrict Black thought in all of its various forms. It has always been that war that has been waged. Since we've come in contact with them people, this has been the war that has been waged. White thought against Black thought. The white mind against the Black mind. It's always been the war. So everything that they have put out, they put out from the white mind in an effort to validate the white mind, to convince the Black mind that it's not what it is, which is the universal mind, the cosmic mind. We had to be convinced that we were not that they, in fact, was that. And this is what this has all been about. Because when they encountered the Black mind, they were intimidated by the Black mind. So their intimidation, which grew out of their insecurities, caused them to go to work, to build and create and erect the ideas, ideologies, philosophies, and institutions and systems to validate whiteness above and beyond Blackness. That's what's happening. That's what's happening, Black man and Black woman. We got to understand. So it's the Black mind. The Black mind. Open it. Think differently. But think differently on the basis of how your ancestors thought. Understand what our world view is and utilize it. Zaquani's, your spirit lives in me, and I'm forever grateful for your interruption in my journey. However, your work is so important. What challenges do you face and how do you combat them? Oh yeah, the challenges that I face are necessary challenges, my brother. You know, I need more help. That's the principal challenge. The principal challenge is that I am principally, for the most part, not working with enough people. You know, now I got a crew with me at PLM. You know, my crew right now, they strong. You know, the brothers and the sisters are strong. You know, we putting out work. You know, we got the books out there. You know, my wife got her 4 books out. You know, Mama Gina got her 10, 11, 12 books out. You know, Baba Disa got his 2 books out that's published. Another book that's coming out. You know, he has several books that's about to come out. Mama Tiambe, you know, have some books out, some learning material that's out. So PLM, we are producing, we're doing things. We got the institutions, WDC. You know, we have Tameen with the Life, Mama Gina doing, you know what I'm saying, the Oya Rites of Passage. Like, we're doing some things, but we're small. So the principal challenge, it's always been the principal challenge. We need men and women. And this is the call to anybody that's listening, no matter where you at. We need Black men and Black women that's ready to do what I was just talking about, to clean themselves up, to tighten themselves. And I use the word clean yourself up because I'm paraphrasing Malcolm X. You know, he used that term that way. So to get cleaned up, to get tightened up, brothers and sisters that's ready to deal with their internal issues, to get themselves right, to be a part of an organizational family so we can do some liberation work. That's the call. That's the challenge. And the second challenge is we need brothers and sisters that if you're not going to do that, then support us financially. Support us financially so we can continue to do the work. But whether people come forward or not, whether the finances come forward or not, I do not know how to stop doing the work. But I will let you know what those challenges are. My first challenge is we need more people. The second challenge, we need finances. We need finances. So if everybody that's listening, if you're willing to just donate $50 a month to PLM, I'm gonna put the website in the chat box, and you can get on board with that. So that's our website, www.plm95.org. You can go on there and you can set up where you can make your donation to us, and you can make that donation a regular donation. We will most definitely be most grateful of it. But whether you make the donation or not, like I said, I don't know how to stop. I will continue to do the work, and in hopes that I will, in fact, meet the people necessary to continue to do the work alongside me. So those are the two challenges, my brother. Hopefully, I've said something that, enlighten you in some way. All facts, Bob. My daughter being a part of African-centered institutions like URP has stayed with her throughout her teenage years. She's so self-loving and thriving in her Blackness. Yes, we love you, sister. And I remember how it all started. She actually, when you first wanted to put her in URP, our youth organization, she wasn't even old enough, but you waited. And as soon as she became old enough, you reached right back out. Hey, she's old enough. And I'm saying, I think, but that was probably about, give or take, 11 years ago now, like 2008, something like that, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, I see her beauty. I see her strength. I see her power. I see the Blackness. And that's because you had enough sense, and you had enough sense as a mother. You had enough love, enough passion to connect her with a Black organization that you saw doing good work, and you allowed us to partner with you, in developing your daughter all those years. I think we had her for about how many years? Probably like 4 or 5 years. She was with us, in different capacities, in different various ways. So yes, 11 years ago, 11 years ago. That's why she was 7. You're correct. Yes, she was 7. As soon as she turned 7, you put her in. And that's what it's all about. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. So the brother said, we would like to know how PLM strategically works with. There is nothing strategic about it. Like I said last time, there's nothing strategic about it. It's relationships. It's not hard to do. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard to do. I'm not a hard person to reach out to. Person contact me, I contact him or her, and we build a relationship. We're going to find out where we align at. We're going to find out how we can help each other out, and we work from there. We need to build relationships. So that's what we do. Like all the people that I work with, or the other organizations that I work with, is based on relationships. Dr. Mayat, and Anime Productions. That's Dr. Mayat. Our organization works with her organization, but that relationship is based, that collaboration is based on a relationship. So we got a relationship where as though she can call me, I can call her, we can laugh, we can kick it, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? She can say something to my children, I can say something to hers. It's a relationship. That's what's needed. Relationships are needed. We got to build relationships. And we've neglected that in our organizational building capacity. We've neglected that. But we have more than enough time to actually build relationships. Like you, my brother, me coming to South Carolina, me reaching out, we connecting, that's in an effort to build relationship. That's what that's about. You allow me to come into your home, to sit down and meet your family, that's reciprocation. So we're building relationship. A lot of people don't do that, and they don't do that because they still have the internal stuff going on. They still have too much internal stuff going on that gets in the way of building relationship. So yeah, I work with multiple organizations, the Black Awareness Movement, you know what I'm saying? Bam, relationship. That's what we got. That's a relationship. And that organization supports the Race First Rally every single year, but it's the relationship that we have, so that's what it's about, building the relationships. We gotta build the relationships, and we have to be willing to put the time and the energy into building the relationships. We have to be able to do that, reaching out to one another, seeing how each other is doing and things of that nature, like Dr. Mahat just recently, I call her Dr. Mahat, but yes, a relationship. She has an organization. She has a program, she's doing work. but she knew that we was going through this electrical situation. She called me. She called my wife. She invited my wife. Now, how y'all doing? Y'all good? That's relationship. That's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to get it. Relationship. Like, we got to do this work totally different. We can't do this work nowhere, nothing like how they traditionally do work. So how we organize must be different, and our organizational methodology must be based on the principles of Africa. And at the heart of Africa and African society is relationships. At the heart of African societies is relationships. That's what it's all about. And so we have to reinstitute that in our organizational methodology. How do we build relationships? Someone must be courageous enough to initiate it. And then the other person must have enough heart and human decency to reciprocate. And then once the process of reciprocation is set in motion, once that back and forth is set in motion, we are building something. We are building at that point. Because what happens is that humane investment, we are listening to one another with a keen ear to what the other person is feeling and thinking. We're sharing thoughts and ideas. We're collaborating. We're spending time together. We're building the relationship. That's what these organizations need to do. And that's what PLM seeks to do. Every person I do any form of business with, if they Black, at some point I let them know that, hey, this is who I am. I don't want this just to be transactional. This has to be relational. If you're unwilling to make it relational, then I don't do business with you. You know, it's no hard feelings. I'm not mad at you. I just know that you 100% on the European time, and I'm not. It has to be relational. And if you're unwilling to make it relational, then I got to go like this, because I don't have time for just a bunch of stuff that's transactional. It's relational. Say, man, that's heavy. Appreciate that. Yes, we have to stop trying to use white methods on Black minds. Yes, correct. And yeah, I like the way you put that. We cannot use their methodologies on Black minds. We can't. It's not working. It has not worked. You know, we can't utilize them as some type of standard in every arena, and we mimic them. And so oftentimes when it comes up for us, doing something for ourselves, we reach into them to just their models. Now, if you do go through their institutions, because I'm not saying you can't go through their institutions, I'll be very clear. I'm not saying you can't go through their institutions. If you go through their cool, but I'm saying that we should have enough Blackness in us, and we should be learning enough about what it means to be Black and African, and authentic and creative and innovative, so that when we come out their institutions, we can institute our own stuff our way and be extremely more effective. We don't have to use them as the standard, as the model, and we do that too much. And so that's why when people hear about Imhotep, they misinterpret me, because they don't really listen to me enough to understand what I'm trying to get across. And the only message, my essential message is this: Black people have an authentic, creative, and powerful way that we view the world and how we interface with reality. We have a unique methodology of how we dealt with human phenomenon. And I'm saying that if we research that and resurrect that, we're good. We don't need them. We don't need their definitions and their models, and we don't need all of that. We got a way that works for us. We have a way to work for us. And it's easy to determine that, And that's what it's all about. Build the relationships, right? And that's what I want to do with people, man. I want us to build relationships. And part of building relationships doesn't mean that it's going to always move smoothly. Once again, that's us thinking like them or watching too much TV, right? We think it's supposed to be smooth. You don't build through smooth. You don't build through ease. You don't body build through ease. Them people that's body built, they nice and fitting together, they didn't get that way through ease. You don't get that through ease. You don't become the fastest man running in the world through ease. You don't become the greatest basketball player through ease. And why do we think that the relationship is going to come through ease? No. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying the relationship is going to be hard and destructive. I'm not insinuating that. I'm saying that the relationship is going to require of all participants to push against his or her personal boundaries and comfort zones. That's what I mean. That's why it's not going to be ease. And oftentimes we don't push against our personal boundaries or comfort zones because we want to stay in a place of ease. And that's why we don't build the strong relationships to sustain the organizational collaborations. You don't build through ease. You don't build strong relationships through ease. Me and my wife haven't been together 19 years and 4 months through ease. But it's been beautiful 19 years and 4 months though. But it wasn't ease. It was a lot of uncomfortable moments, uncomfortable conversations that had to be said. You know, we don't come to these relationships, you know, with the same aspirations all the time, the same sexual desires and stuff like that. You got to be comfortable to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? What you got to know what fulfills you in the parameters of not being perverted. You know what I mean? Healthy stuff, right? But you got to be able to communicate that to your woman. Or she got to be able to communicate that to you. And sometimes that's not an easy conversation because most of us are not taught how to communicate our needs without feeling like if I communicate my need, is he or she going to think I'm being selfish? So we wrestle with that in our head. And because we don't understand that you're not selfish to make a person aware of your needs, you know, you're providing that person with information that's going to allow him or her to execute his or her responsibilities and duties in relation to you better. How can I better be good for you if I don't know what you require? If I don't know your requirements, how can I be good? I can't. I'm a fail utterly. And that's what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to get us to understand that the reason why our organizational efforts are failing is because we're not building relationships, because a lot of us want to keep on lying and hiding and being afraid to be upfront. That's why. You say, what is generational myopia for us? That's a terminology. I guess I could take a stab at it, but I would say this. I think that we don't have to make our situations complicated with a lot of these terms, because a lot of the terms, it kind of complicates our situation. And once it becomes complicated, we open up all these other conundrums, right? So like I say, I don't think it got anything to do with being generational. You know what I'm saying? We are in a society among people who have made it their business to destroy us. That's simple. And they built institutions to ensure that they can carry out that desire. That's what we're dealing with. And because we have been battered, abused, misused, hurt, betrayed, abandoned, we now walk around with these internal scars inside of us that impairs our ability to function at optimal capacity. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. You know, and I like to keep it as simple as that so we can be clear about how to get to solutions. So that would be my answer to that question, my brother. It's important to have a concrete set of values and ideology before going into any type of relationship or organization. Most of us don't. Some go in trying to learn while the other side isn't. So I think, yes, you're correct in a sense. But look at it like this. Most times, relationships are going to be based on, it's like I'm not going to get with a woman. Me and a woman is not going to get together if we don't complement one another. If there's nothing there where we compliment each other, then we're not going to be able to be in a relationship. And that's the same for organization, right? So when I say relationships, it's with the knowledge that I'm speaking about, complementary. So like case in point, like me, I can't see me being in an organizational relationship with an organization that supports things that I don't support. I just can't see it. Now, I'm not going to try to tear them down. I'm not going to beef with them, but I can't see that. So I'm going to already know what their beliefs are before we align ourselves that way. You know, and if I don't know what their beliefs are, that's going to be the conversation. And I'll let them know, like, these are my positions right here. This is my stance. And I'll hear their stance. And then once they let me know what their stance is, then I can let them know, like, I don't think our organizations are the best fit for one another. I believe in an effort to try to be together. You and I in the organization, I think it'll do us more harm than good over time, right? And I would just not go into it. So yes, and I think anybody that's coming into an organization who may not have an ideology, as long as they have enough self-will, self-drive, self-aspirations to know what they want, what they're looking for, they should be able to hear those principles, those values, those aspirations within that organization. And then once they hear it, they should be able to see it being executed. If they can hear it and see it, then that's something they should align themselves with so they can begin to develop it themselves. That's what I would say. Principles and values must be aligned to truly build. Yes, they must be. Must be. So I am actually 7 minutes past my time. I'm supposed to be ending this thing at 10 o'clock, but I know we started getting into it now. I could sit here all night long and we can have this conversation. But at the end of the day, I am a husband. I am a husband. And when you're a husband and you have a wife, you have to take care of all those responsibilities. And I got to spend some time with my wife before she go to bed, because she be executing a part of nation building. Most of you know she's primarily running WDC, and that's a lot of nation building work there. So I have to make sure she's good. But I most definitely enjoyed the conversation as always, man. Share this, like it up. I put the website in there. Throw them in here again. Check us out. Always go to the website, check us out, man. Make a donation. Support the work that we do. That's what we need. Support the work. Find out how you can get involved. See how you can become in line. See how you can begin to work with PLM. Many of you, you watched us for years. You know who we are. You know Bob and Hotel. You know my heart, my convictions. My commitments. Let's just figure out how we can make this thing work. I am of the mindset that nothing can hinder or get in the way of the Black mind when we are truly in operation of the Black mind. So having said that, Bibi Fahodier waits first, and as always, stay with us, where we always are true and Black and right and exact to the point to build and expand Black consciousness. With that, we say Bibi Fahodier waits first.